Okay, here we go, Ahmed. I'm live from the field, knocking on doors here.
You're live from Jurassic Park.
That's right, in a jeep, in a jeep. But yesterday, I was in Seattle, hitting the streets with the folks at the hometown for No Kings, man. I was out there. You should have seen me with the
You
bullhorn,
were out
man,
there.
going crazy.
Man, I mean, how was it? From what I'm seeing, everywhere we saw 2,100 locations, over 5 million people nationwide,
Yeah,
is what the organizers are saying. And it was just, the energy was insane, right? Was that what you were getting on the ground there?
dude, it was like we knew it was gonna be big. After hands off, right? After hands off, after what Trump has been doing lately, after specifically the National Guard, Marines in LA. This is like he's ratcheting it up. After sitting senator gets handcuffed for wanting to ask questions, after Kilmar gets sent away and then brought back and then tried for a different crime, all of this
Yeah.
bullshit. And so people we knew would be bigger than hands off, but oh my gosh, it was so much bigger. It was more people, more new people, more moderate folks that were a part of it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's looking like it is the biggest single day mass demonstration since the Women's March in
Yeah.
2017. I mean, obviously we had a bunch of protests in 2020, but this is like the biggest single day anti-Trump demonstration. It's old school resistance, man, and it was nationwide. We saw, like you said, it's a compounding effect of everything. Like this was already planned against the military parade, and
Hmm.
then Padilla just basically pushing him to the ground and shoving him out and handcuffing him on top of the military occupation of California while
Yeah.
they're using rhetoric like they're going to liberate it. Americans just stood up and were just like, we're not having this. We're not having immigrants being torn from our homes and our communities. And it's really hit an inflection point. I was writing like before, even the week, like the day before this, I wrote an article just about all the authoritarian escalation. And I was just saying, we're hitting a turning point, I think, in his
Hmm.
administration. Like 38% approval in the Quinnipiac poll of him.
Oh, really? 38.
Yeah,
Man.
and then one of the most
Wow.
recent ones, and it's just that's reflected in the streets, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Padilla thing is interesting because on one hand, I feel like just because he's a senator, it shouldn't give him any special privileges. It shouldn't be like, hey, you can throw, regular people to the ground and handcuff them for no reason, but a senator, you can't do that to them. That's not the take that it should be. I think it's more of like people reacting to we thought that they wouldn't have done it to a senator. Not that we
Yeah,
place senators at a higher level necessarily when it comes to how law enforcement treat us, because we think that everyone should be treated equal to the law. And it is so rare for a sitting senator to be treated that way that the thought now is if they'll do it to him, then you're definitely not safe then
no, I
because
mean,
you're nobody. You know what I mean?
I think it's unprecedented.
Yeah.
Like I think we've seen, we saw back in the day, like people who forget about people who used to brawl in the Capitol. Like
Yeah.
lawmakers
Yeah.
would whoop each other, like they'd whoop each other's asses. Like that
Yeah.
was a thing that happened. Like, but you didn't see this power of the state being used in this way. And I think the reason why I agree, like it should, just because he's a senator, it shouldn't happen to anyone. But the fact that he was in a federal building, he had to get clearance to get in there, and the national and the guards and the FBI, they escorted him into the press.
Yeah.
When he asked to get there. So
He had FBI
they
with
knew who
him.
they knew who he was.
Right.
Whether or not Kristi Noem, who went through Senate confirmation, whatever. And it also, it's just the point that she lied and said he didn't identify himself when he repeatedly did it. So it was just a disinformation machine, which then immediately just gets almost overshadowed and responded to by these protests, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just the news cycle moves so fast. That happened on Friday. It's
Yeah,
Monday, and we're
man.
already talking about 15 other things that have happened. But,
That was
it's just
Friday. Oh my god.
that was Friday, and then since then, Israel attacked Iran. We had the No Kings protests. We had the Minnesota Democratic lawmakers getting shot. Like, so much has happened,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're just digesting it all. But it's just, I think the main thing I just want to like make sure people recognize just how the contrast. You know, that military parade. Like, we have all these other things that happen, but he got overshadowed. And
Yeah.
the organizer specifically said we don't want a counter demonstration
Such a
in
good move.
DC, which
Such
ended
a
up being one of the
smart
smartest
move.
things. I posted about that and writing an article about it too. And it's just we're reaching this moment of a movement, an anti-Trump movement that is hitting major thresholds. And
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard about the 3.5% rule.
Yeah, we hit it
Erica
yesterday.
Chenoweth.
Yeah.
And it's like
11 million, almost 12 million. Yep.
yeah, but
Nationwide.
it needs to be sustained. You know.
Yep.
I think the estimates are over 5 million, but it could be easily more. We're just seeing so many people showing up, but it's just another thing from Chenoweth and the research. What she found is that there actually have been more protests this term than at this point in Trump's first term. Although
I mean,
there's
we've lived through that, right? And I think it's an innovation, and I think that some folks who remember the first term and were active in it have thought that we're not active enough because there's not the big Women's March thing, this big splash. I would say that it's better now because it's decentralized. It is. Exactly. It's more often. It is in more places. When you start saying you're going to attach them to Tesla dealerships, now the breadth of it is as accessible as a Tesla showroom. In addition to that, there's federal buildings in every major city. Now you're talking about protests at the federal buildings that are ongoing. We do one in Seattle that we support every Friday. So it has been it's almost like we took a singular thing that you had to go somewhere to experience, like Disneyland, and we took it and we said we want this to be all around the country, so we're going to franchise this. And we're going to have locations nationwide. In the same way that you would interact with a customer, we have treated your average person in the country who wants to get mobilized civically as customers. And we said, listen, we're going to come to you. We're going to bring the protest movement to you wherever you are in America. We're going to right size this for you. And groups like Indivisible and Move On, and then all of these local organizations that have been working in cities across America have kind of latched onto this as well. And now you've got one of the most, if not the most, accessible, people-powered protest movement that this country has ever seen. And it culminated at the No Kings rally in a big fashion.
It really did. And the key component of it was accessible. It was fun. People were showing up with funny signs. I saw some there were some leftists that were criticizing some of the signs, like, because it was, using humor. I'm like,
what? Who did that?
I don't know. There's some people who are just saying one of
That's
the signs
ridiculous.
was like,
you got to be funny.
One of the
Come
signs
on
was
now.
like, if Kamala won, then we would be at brunch or something, which is like, and they just,
come on.
you're here at your fun protest. Yeah, okay, it's good. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fun.
We had
it's
dance
good.
flash mobs. We had people doing the electric slide, man.
Joy and satire.
You listen, people who think that this doesn't need to be joyous still and have humor in it miss how the civil rights movement was sustained. That is how we were able to do it for so many years. How do you, for years, fight for rights that you don't get? It takes joy as well as determination and grit and all these other things. But you got to have fun when you do it. You got to let go. You got to sing. You got to move your body. Like, this is something that people who have had to fight for their rights because of who they are and what they look like, what they understand very well. So all you serious people, man, you need to get to the back and take notes.
Yeah, it's just like, you need that joy. Like Charles Malden told us when we went to the first learning tour last year, when the first time I went in April, where we were all dancing and David was on the bus, twerking on the bus. I don't know if you would identify with me using the terminology twerking to define as dancing, but David was on the bus dancing. We had people out here popping off. We had a great time on the bus. And afterwards, Charles took me aside and told me, what people don't talk enough about is that this was like what we were doing in the civil rights era,
Mm-hmm.
like when King, everybody, we would be laughing, we would be partying after these tough days. And
Yeah.
I think like that's a key part of this is the joy is a part of the protest,
Yeah.
satire, humor, all of it.
Also, listen, old people, you're not gonna have no young people joining your movement if you don't have fun. I'm sorry. Young people like to have fun. You can't be like no fun and also we're the young people.
Oh well, it actually wasn't even the old people saying this.
Was
It was
it?
like Gen Z. Like, it was I saw like a Gen Z
Come
leftist,
on,
like far
man.
leftist
Get
person
out of
on
here.
Twitter complaining about it. It's not a big deal. I'm just saying I think they just you want a largely accessible movement where everyone can feel
Yep.
they can join in. It's nonviolent, inherently nonviolent, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
the coverage out of that was all positive. There
Yeah.
was no riots, and it was a great repudiation of the narrative that Trump was pushing, saying, you know, there's all these riots in LA when they're pointing on 5 instances of 5 cars burned, and they're showing this is like, oh, I think this was direct repudiation of that, and it was just incredible to see. And I think people should feel hardened by this. Like
Mm-hmm.
Americans are standing up. That many people showed up for a peaceful protest. That shows you we have a show of force.
Oh yeah.
If
It
things
was
if things
amazing.
slide worse, if things get worse, we know people will show up and they'll get out there. It was raining in New York, still tens of thousands of people
It was
out
raining
here.
in New York
It was
and people were
raining in
out
New
there.
York. It was
Wow.
raining in
Okay.
New York. There's a picture of like a bunch of New Yorkers with their umbrellas and then one guy like with an American flag.
Nice, nice.
Hey, I'm gonna put some of these in
And
my article
Seattle
I'm
was
writing.
beautiful. It was beautiful weather. It was one of the best walks downtown that I've ever had. It's very very cool to be like in the street where cars normally are, and you just get to look at the city. And the sun was out. Yeah, it was cool, man. I didn't get a chance to speak though, cause
Yeah, what was up there?
cause they said last time I was too divisive,
They
and
said you were divisive.
they said I was too divisive, and what they said was, because last time I said a bunch of stuff. I talked about knocking on doors for Susan Crawford in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin. I talked about the fact that Common Power sends volunteers around the country. But I also, because we were just the debate around this bill, this big, beautiful bill that's now labeled this, the conversation had started that Trump was going to start the House was going to start the process of deliberating about this, or maybe they'd already started. And so in my mind was this thought about the wealthy are going to get a tax break.
Oh
And I
yeah, I
just
remember that
said,
article.
I said, hey, listen, y'all, I can't not say this. We're in a city where there are shareholders who were there in the beginning of Boeing and Nordstrom and Starbucks and Amazon and Costco and Microsoft, et cetera, et cetera. And you all are going to get a tax break from this dude. And I said, we need that money back.
Yeah,
The people are going to need that money back. And I need you to give that money to these organizations that are here speaking on this stage. And somebody said they didn't like it. The folks who were voting said that they thought it was divisive. And I don't know. I think my message to
I mean the
to
audience
them,
sounded like they liked it. So
the the audience, I mean, there are a lot of people who are clapping for it, but I was just like, listen, it's an honest message, man. Like, in order for us to make this, and people like to leave the movement talk to just kind of the kumbaya pieces. And the thing that is so important is actually clearly stating the role that everybody is supposed to be playing in the
yeah,
coalition. And for people who are physically able, we need you to knock on doors. Okay? We need you to go and march. Okay? If you're not physically able, there's a role for you too. There's letters and postcards you can do. There's phone calling you can do. Okay? For people who can't afford to travel, then you need to stay local and do as much as you can locally. And for people who have means, you need to go do more. You need to travel. You need to pay for your own way. You need to help fund these organizations. And I think that we have to be clear-headed
yeah.
and open and honest about the roles that people are going to play in this coalition. The other one, and this is part of what I wanted to deliver, is that if we're going to build a coalition that's going to be as broad as it is, you have to be able to literally march alongside people who voted for Trump. You have to find common ground with people who in previous years you've seen as your enemy, and that's a necessity of a coalition.
Yes, exactly.
So some people think that it is terrible what they did to Kilmar Obregon Garcia, And some people think that it was fine, but that Trump has gone too far. Some people want him to be deporting people, and they think he's gone too far. They think it shouldn't be kids or something like that. Or they think that he shouldn't use the military, but they do think he should be deporting people at the level that he is. That's the coalition that it's going to take for us to win here, and people need to be very clear about what that is. And I think anyone who only wants positive messages is not an honest builder of a coalition, and I want to be. I am.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's even a negative message. I think you were just speaking the kind of a truth. I think that's kind of that's almost a purist decision to make to not re-include you after just a statement like that. I don't think that that's something that's. It's not like you didn't say anything crazy. It's like you. That's I don't know. That's really weird on their part. And again,
it's a Seattle thing, dude.
It's a Seattle thing, nice. But it's just if I don't know if it was a group that decided or a Democratic Party establishment or whatever. Yeah. Was a group Democrats?
It's a group of just like different organizations that are kind of local orgs in Seattle.
Well, I just think what you have to do is just you have to be able to have those voices, empowered, especially people who are doing all the hard ass work, and that's also right. Don't cut out people who are saying the hard truths. So include them, so you don't have to say that shit. Someone has to say it.
Someone has to say it, man.
And I just think it's that's. And again, this is one of my critiques of just Democrats generally. I think you got to get some balls.
That's right.
I think you need to get some balls.
Yep.
And I think you need to not be afraid to ruffle feathers, and you need to be a fighter. You need to, and you need fighters for your. Why do you think people like Gavin Newsom right now at this moment?
That's right.
Like there are people on TikTok, they're like Gen Zers or people who are like talking about Gavin Newsom in hilarious ways, like just talking about how because they hate him, but they're like talking about how they love him, because they were like saying he's like he's like a vampire, but like only cares about. He cares, but like he's our vampire. I don't know. They're saying like they're saying he's a like there's like he'll kill you, but he'll protect you. Type energy, and it's funny because it's just like people are saying like, oh, he's a fighter,
like sinners,
right?
like sinners, like he wants to fight you to make you a part of his thing so you can protect.
No, but it's like
my God,
like they're basically just getting at they're saying some funny stuff, and they were like they're saying he hates homeless people and Republicans, but he's all out of homeless people. So now he's going after Republicans. Like they're being funny about the way they're framing it. But the point is, it's like they're recognizing his flaws.
The
point I'm trying to make generally is they're recognizing Gavin's flaws. Yeah. And where they disagree with him. And because they've been on the receiving end of his fighter mentality.
Yeah.
But they're recognizing that in this moment, he's an ally. And in this moment, you need a hard ass that'll say the truths, that'll push back. And that's really what I'm getting at, and why I think it's foolish of anyone to try to remove voices that are having moments of tough talk to an audience. So that's
the good thing, man, is that I don't think this is our last protest. Just something tells me we got a lot more coming up. So
no. I mean,
there's hopefully I'll have some conversations with some folks in Seattle, and we can make some common ground. But one of the things that I really appreciate that you pointed out, and you've got the national view more than I do, is the juxtaposition, man. The difference between how many people were moving against Trump simultaneously around the country, and how many people were not at his fucking parade, bro. That was one of the most glorious things I've ever seen. What did you think?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm writing my article on is just this mass movement of people everywhere around the country, while his parade is going to be defined by these images, these videos of just a squeaking tank rolling by, a silent
squeaking tank.
Yeah, it's like a squeaking tank. You just hear silence and you hear it squeaking, and then there's just empty bleachers.
And
it's like, again, like if this was actually about the army, that's one thing. But this was about Donald trying to flex. Yeah. And the fact that people didn't show up and that there weren't counter protesters there that could face off with the tanks or whatever. He wanted that. And we give him what he wanted. And instead, he was embarrassed. There's images of him just looking miserable. I've never seen this man as miserable up there. He looked just so miserable.
He
It's
had
his
the
birthday,
nobody
you know?
nobody came to my birthday party
Yeah,
energy.
it's 79 years old. He's just sitting there just like, oh, just angry. Everyone else around him looks bored out of their minds. And that's, that's what you get. This country does not like you. This country opposes everything you stand for. They do not want a king. They do not want a dictator. And that is what was demonstrated that day. The entire country mobilizing in that way. Millions of people. And you couldn't draw. They were trying to say their goal was 250K people. It turns out, I don't know if they got more than 10K. Like the images, there's no official estimates, but it's very clear they fell far short of their goals.
I think there were more people in Seattle marching than there were just in Seattle.
More people in single cities. It was like 100K in Pennsylvania, 75K in Chicago, 50K in New York. Like,
yeah, we did 70 in Seattle.
Yeah, 70 in Seattle. Like, there are people out here, and it's just, again, people were feeling down before. Like, this is not an all-powerful, super popular guy. You need a popular mandate in your early days of your regime to build.
And he cares about that a lot. He cares about his polling. He cares about, all the way back to like the root of how he judges himself and others is like back to classic Nielsen TV ratings, man. He's like, his ratings, if those are low, he's feeling bad. He's feeling really bad. So this sends a message to him. It sends a real message.
It does. And just one more thing before we talk about what you're doing in Virginia, because you're just going from hustle to hustle, killing it, is Andor. First off, were you talking about how Andor was like the best piece of anti-fascist art? I think it's the best piece of anti-fascist art in a generation, straight up. And we're seeing it everywhere on these protests.
Yes.
What were your thoughts on that?
So I'm gonna pull it up, but go ahead and introduce the Go ahead and introduce the topic.
So Andor, if you haven't seen go look at our other video. We did a whole video on Andor where it's this new Star Wars show, if you haven't seen it, that's basically about the birth of the rebellion and how the rebels geared up and build the movement to take down the Empire. It shows all the impacts. It shows the bureaucratic maneuvers that are made behind the scenes to uphold the Empire. And it's really intelligent. It's some of the smartest writing you can even find. And basically, there's like this manifesto in it that basically is like an anti-fascist manifesto from this fictional character that I keep seeing quoted in videos about the protests.
Well, so the manifesto is that piece. I feel like we should do an episode on that just to actually have the content in there. But there's a moment where the hero is rescuing a senator. The senator has taken the Senate floor, and she's basically saying that the emperor is the bad guy. The person doing this is the emperor. And it's like somebody it's the first time anyone's ever done it. As soon as she does it, she has to flee. And to connect with the resistance fighter hero who's going to get her out of the way. The code word is that I have friends everywhere. I forget. He says that, and then there's supposed to be something else that said, I have friends everywhere. And the I have friends everywhere signs. This is it is all over. Like people all over
everywhere.
The country made these signs, the I have friends everywhere signs.
It's unbelievable.
And it's become it's even got the Rebel Alliance thing going on there. It is the I have friends everywhere. If you know what it means, you understand its connection to Andor. And if you don't know what it means, it is about us. It's about the collective resistance. It's about the fact that that people are building community, that it's not just random strangers that are here anymore. There are real bonds that are being developed, and that's going to be the thing that's going to kick Trump's ass.
No, exactly. And it's just been beautiful to see. And just, I have friends everywhere, these signs, the movement, it's been tied together. Like Andor, I'm seeing it everywhere. Like we're seeing references to it. Like after the riots, or not the riots, but what they framed as riots, the riot narrative, there were people who were talking about comparing it to Gorman. This thing that we covered in our other video where the Empire tried to manufacture a narrative that these were violent protesters, right? And people were using that to not buy what was going on in LA. the other week.
After
No,
Padilla got
and then
dragged
after
away,
Padilla got dragged
there's
away,
literally a
my
scene
first
in
thought.
Andor with a senator from Gorman being dragged away, and he's like, "I'm a sitting senator. You
He said the
can't do this
same
to me."
thing. He
And then
literally
he's
said the
like,
same thing.
"Well, you guys do nothing. You guys just gonna watch, while he gets dragged away, and all the senators just watching him just get dragged away."
And then as Padilla's dragged out, he was saying, I'm a senator. He was saying the same thing that the Gorman, and that was my first thought. I should have tweeted it, but someone else tweeted it, and that one
Somebody
went
got you
viral.
first.
Someone got there first. I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe it's too niche. And then it turns out Andor's not that niche anymore.
Not anymore, dude.
Just on that note, it's becoming a seminal piece of the resistance art right now, and I think people forget, like, the resistance came from Star Wars. Like,
Yeah.
the title came from The Force Awakens.
Yes.
And then Rogue One dropped right after Trump won, and then everyone, and I was super online at the time. All the Dem libs were throwing up resistance logos on their profiles. Like, it's another thing where the fiction is fueling a movement, and like, I don't know, man. It's beautiful times. I really think the pendulum has swung the other way.
I think so too. And to continue it, man. And I think
That's
the
where
thing
you're
that
at right
sets Common Power apart from other organizations. We had a banner, and I was on the megaphone, and I was doing the, like, hey, ho ho, Donald Trump has got to go. I was doing that, and then we do the chant, and I'd turn around and talk to the crowd, and I'd be like, "Hey, I know you're walking with us, and maybe you don't know who we are. We're Common Power.
Yeah.
And after this, we're gonna fly and knock on doors in elections." And, like, you can see people, like, go like, "Whoa, what am I? I'm a part of a group." And I'm like, "Hey, yeah, you're here." Had a captive audience. So I was like, we were just in New Jersey. We're headed to Virginia tomorrow. We're gonna be in Arizona later. We're gonna be, all these elections. And right now, yeah, we're in Northern Virginia. I'm in Arlington right now. We're knocking on doors here. We got I think
You're in my hometown.
Really?
I'm in Woodbridge, Manassas. I was literally like Arlington's where we used to party.
Yeah, let me know if you need to pick up. I can pick up groceries for the fam or something, man.
Yeah, you in my hometown. But yeah, what are you doing there?
We're talking to people.
Doors for primary?
Yeah, we're knocking on doors for it's a primary. It's a lieutenant governor race. The governor has been already decided basically on the Dem side. It's a Spamberger. But lieutenant governor is a race. It's a real race between a lot of popular up and coming people. There's a real bench here in Virginia, which is it's a good thing to have when there's a competition for any seat amongst a lot of good choices. And the crazy thing is, we've knocked on doors for two of these candidates. So we had to choose one, man. It was crazy.
Oh, that's wild.
We knocked on doors for Erin Rouse and for Ghazala Hashmi, and we chose Ghazala Hashmi because she's got the most experience in the state ledge. She's written bills. She's a former educator. She was an educator for decades. So, she's the one that we think is going to be the better in government. But, we've got an embarrassment of riches of good talent out here in Virginia, and any one of them is going to be great for the folks here. But the broader point is, marching in the streets is a necessity. We got to get to 3.5%. It's the best way for new people to get involved, to kind of just like walk in a crowd, maybe hold a sign, but you can be a part of a protest with just physically standing in the space. So those are necessary, and they're really good, and we got to continue that. And also, the way you codify change still in America is through elections. And so Common Power we're going to be out there doing it, man.
Yep, and you are, and we'll be out there, and I'll be joining you guys again. I was there these various races there in Pennsylvania, and yeah,
right.
People got to get out there, man. People got to get out there.
All right. Let me go find my team, man.
Yeah, go keep knocking doors. By the way, everyone, he's literally on a turf right now. That's why he's in the car. He's supposed to go He's about to go knock a door as we speak. He's on a turf.
That's right.
The hustle doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop, man. It doesn't stop. I got my lit right here, bro. I got my lit right there.
Look at this, man.
All right, man. We'll see y'all.
All right.